I think people like to say everything's a X killer, a Netflix killer. Netflix is the market leader. They're the one to beat. I think the only difference is the hunter has become the hunted.
And in terms of why you're not concerned by an Apple or a Peacock or an HBO Max, why is that?
You know, Netflix really understands what's going on in media right now. They foresaw that the content would be pulled. That's why they upped the amount of originals they were doing. They have forgotten more about product and technology than these new services have built. And to be honest with you, the AT&Ts of the world at Warner or some of these other companies, even Apple, have not done direct-to-consumer SVOD services before. So I just think they have a leg up. And I'd also say that there's not a lot of talk about international. You know, the amount of minutes that are lost in US television is not satiated by the amount of content that's available today. So Netflix still has a lot of growth in the US, but in addition to that, in Europe, there's still only 5% of viewing in the UK. There's a lot of upside there, and I don't think that's priced into the stock.
Although in the latest earnings report, Netflix's subscriber numbers show that it's seeing a slowing pace of growth internationally because of the local competitors in a lot of these markets.
Sure. There's no question about that. I think Reed has recently said that they're going to up production and the amount of stuff that's coming up in the UK. Catalog for these services breed engagement, but it's really the number of originals that get new subscribers.
So then it becomes an arms race on content. You have Netflix, Disney, Apple, all just paying as much as they can for good content.
You got it. For us, we're happy because let them kill each other and we get all this great programming, but it's an arms race right now.
But I'm not sure as a consumer I want all three.
Yep. So it's a very good question. So I think that right now, specifically in the US, Netflix and Amazon Prime are really the bedrock of the home. I think on average, what would be a cable home may have 3 services. Going forward, though, depending on economic strata, the way the economy works out, and frankly, taste, who will have 4, 5, 6, and 7. And niche businesses will also have a role. If you look at what Starz has done globally under the CEO of Jeff Hirsch, he's built a really good OTT business, and it's a niche business.
You know, what's going on with the stock, you know, it got up to a $170 billion valuation.
Yep.
A lot of that has bled away. Maybe that's just because it's no longer, you know, the only way to play this area. And there's no doubt about it, they were ahead of things on originals and all the rest. But more recently, a couple things that's gone on. They paid $500 million for Seinfeld after saying, don't worry about these sitcoms we're losing.
Sure.
And then others come out at a much lower price point. It feels like their pricing might be capped.
Yes. Listen, I would not say that Seinfeld's a bad purchase. These catalog programs still breed the engagement, which you get a lot of value out of. But I'm not worried about they have a great original slate coming up. And what they understand differently than some of the other news services, I think, have to learn is the velocity at which Netflix releases stuff. You have it in your mind that I don't want to let go of it because during Christmas and other places, they're just dumping a tremendous amount of things out there. Tonight, I'm going to the premiere of The Irishman. Yep. That is a Netflix movie. Martin Scorsese, Robert De Niro, and Pacino. They're making moves in film.
Wait, so you get to see it in a movie theater then?
I get to see
people.
Well, it's going to be released in theaters.
Well, media is cyclical. I still think that they need to make moves against the movie theaters, but I think what you're seeing with Apple's announcement today around they're releasing movies in theaters is really appeasing artists who still want that big screen debut.
What do you feel about content costs overall in terms of how much all of these companies pay per hour of content? Has that peaked? And do you have a view on the pulled Endeavor IPO, which of course is linked to the content creation game?
Sure. I haven't. I saw the news. I saw it was pulled. I haven't looked at the specifics, but we're obviously seeing a lot of failed IPOs recently in terms of expectation and some nervousness about pricing. I don't know what the real reasons were. In terms of content costs, I'll say this. Netflix has overpaid for things, but because they were playing a different game. They were going for a land grab, not for shows, not for networks, but for the entire video space. And look what happened. They're the first service that has 150 million subs worldwide. Ultimately, when they got to 50 million, they have pricing power. So often when you're building a show and you go to a production company and Netflix says, we love what you have, they'll say cost plus 15 or 20. So it's been capped for the creators. But there's going to be a lot of people working in the media business in the next couple of years as this arms race continues.
Although some analysts were saying that they got to be careful on pricing. Netflix is already the most expensive monthly subscription compared to Disney and Apple, which is basically free.
It's a great point, but I would say this, that those services are different. Disney is super serving specific genres and people. Netflix is video. They are building big shows like Stranger Things, but also smaller shows that address smaller audiences. So it's a little bit different. You have to think of Netflix, if you have to use the example of cable, they are Spectrum.
It actually is a bundle.
Yeah, it's a bundle.
Yeah.
It's just, it doesn't have channels on it, they're genres. Right.